All right, let's talk about something that can totally wreck your car's performance, the high-pressure fuel pump, or as you'll hear it called, the HPFP. If you've ever felt like your car is just lost its spark, this little guy could be the culprit. So let's jump right in.
You know that feeling, right? You're trying to get on the highway, you push the pedal down, and instead of that nice, smooth acceleration, the engine just kind of sputters. It hesitates or feels totally gutless. It's confusing and honestly a little unnerving. Well, that exact feeling is one of the biggest, most classic signs that your HFPF is starting to fail.
But hang on. Before we get into diagnosing the problem, we really need to understand the part itself. So, what in the world is a high-pressure fuel pump? And why is it so incredibly important for modern engines?
Okay, so the HPFP is basically the heart of any modern gasoline direct injection or GDI engine. It's a mechanical pump usually run by the engine's camshaft, and its one and only job is to take the fuel it's given and crank up the pressure a lot. And why does it do that? Well, because that insane pressure creates a superfine mist of fuel that can be shot directly into the cylinders. That means a much better, more complete combustion, and that's the secret sauce for getting more power and better fuel economy out of today's smaller engines.
Now, to really get it, you gotta know that your car actually has two fuel pumps. The first one lives inside your gas tank, and it just pushes fuel up to the engine at a pretty tame pressure, somewhere around 40 to 75 psi. But then the HPFP gets a hold of that fuel, and, well, it boosts the pressure to a completely different level.
Let's let that number sink in for a second. 2,500 pounds per square inch. That is more pressure than you'd get from a high-end pressure washer, you know, the kind that can literally peel paint off a wall. And that incredible force is happening inside your engine, constantly. So you can imagine when a part that works that hard starts to fail, you are definitely going to feel it.
So, how can you tell if your HPFP is on its way out? Trust me, it's not going to be subtle. Your car is going to give you clues you can hear and clues you can feel.
First up, let's talk about the sounds. Yeah, before you even feel a problem, you might actually hear it. Your engine bay is always making noise, sure, but a failing HPFP often has a very specific sound you should be listening for.
We're not talking about a soft hum here. This is a sharp metallic sound. It's often because the guts of the pump, like the little plunger or roller that rides on the camshaft, are wearing out. As those parts get worn down, they get sloppy, and that creates a knocking or a clicking noise that often gets faster as your engine revs up.
But honestly, the most obvious symptoms are the ones you're going to feel right there from the driver's seat. Because the HPFP is all about delivering fuel under pressure. When it starts to fail, your engine gets starved of what it needs most, especially when you're asking it to work hard.
Any of this ringing a bell? Sluggish acceleration when you're trying to pass someone? The engine sputtering when you're going up a hill? Maybe a really rough, shaky idle at a stoplight? Or even worse, the engine just stalls out or takes forever to start in the morning. These are all textbook signs of an engine that's just not getting the high-pressure fuel it's desperate for.
Now, these physical symptoms, they're not going to fly under the radar for long. Eventually, your car's computer is going to pick up on the problem, and it will give you a very, very clear signal that something is seriously wrong. And there it is, the dreaded check engine light. Now, I know this light can mean a million different things, but when it pops on right as you're experiencing all those performance issues we just talked about, well, that is a huge red flag for a fuel delivery problem. So, when a mechanic plugs their scanner into your car, they're probably going to find a very specific code waiting for them, P0087. This code is a direct message from your car's computer. It's basically screaming, "Hey, I'm not getting the fuel pressure I'm asking for." It points the finger directly at a problem in that high-pressure fuel system.
Okay, so you've got the symptoms, you've got the light, and you've got the code. It's time for a proper diagnosis. And confirming that the HPFP is the real problem, well, that's a job for a professional, and for one very, very important reason.
And look, I really need to be crystal clear here. This is absolutely critical. We are not talking about changing your oil. That 2,500 psi we mentioned, that's not something you can just mess around with. Trying to work on this system without the right tools and, more importantly, the right safety procedures to release that pressure can be extremely dangerous. Please, just leave this one to the pros.
So, what does a pro do? Well, it's a pretty clear process. First, they'll confirm that P0087 code. Then, here's the key step. They'll use a scanner to watch the fuel pressure data in real time. They compare what the computer is commanding, what it's asking for, with the actual pressure the sensor is reading. When there's a big gap between those two numbers, especially when you rev the engine, that's the smoking gun. From there, a quick physical check for any leaks or obvious wear pretty much seals the deal. At the end of the day, your car is always talking to you. That little hesitation, that weird new noise, that light on the dash, they're all parts of its language. And learning how to listen, really listen, is the key to catching problems early and keeping your car running the way it should. Thanks for tuning in.